Welcome back to the Samsara YouTube channel. Hope this finds you well. Today I'm going to follow up on the idea of purpose in movement, which is an idea we started talking about last week. We talked all about how evolution can help us understand how our bodies came to be shaped the way they are, and therefore what athletic abilities we've evolved to have. So now in this video, I want to start to demonstrate some of that movement, and what we're going to focus on is the idea of crawling. And crawling makes a lot of sense when you think about it from an evolutionary perspective because, of course, that's written into our genetic code. We evolved from primates and we were quadrupedal at one point in our journey. Now, of course, we're bipedal, meaning that we walk around on two legs, but we have that ability to be on four limbs. And if you think about it, we see that show up in a lot of our sports. Sports like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and even climbing involve being on all 4 points of contact and being in those much more flexed positions. And by flex, I just mean in deep squatted positions, because in a lot of modern day life, we're very much protected from that. Every time we're in that position, we are in a chair. So we have no muscle tension required to hold that position. And everything from bookshelves to guardrails are always protecting us from having to go down and be powerful and be athletic down those deep flexed positions. So the journey from being bipedal and then getting down deep into flex positions, getting into crawling can be a really worthwhile part of your athletic journey and can help you resolve a lot of low back and hip issues that come from not using our bodies the way that we were intended. So let's have a look. In this movement progression, we're going to start standing up and then we're going to go into a crawling position, but we're going to take a couple of steps along the way. So I'm going to start with just getting down into deep flexion. So I'm going to start with my feet about double hip width apart. I'm going to lower myself down over 1 foot, and then my hips are just rolling across to the other side and coming back up. And as you do that a few times, if you notice that even just going down into flexion is painful for your back or for your hips, then just take it slow. Your body might need time to get used to being comfortable in flexion. And then another step, and I'll do this in profile, is I'm going to start to do that, but with my heels off the ground. So now I'm in that slightly more athletic stance where I can spring, or I can also absorb ground force more easily than if I'm flat-footed. Some variations for skiers that I think about is in skiing there's not just flexion and extension, but there's also adduction and abduction, so drawing the hip in and out. So we can add that into the movement by just rolling our hips down across, and I'm again in that 4 foot position where my heels are off the ground. I'm creating those lateral forces, adduction and abduction in my hips. And as I do that, I'm even thinking about how I'm rolling over from my inside edge on my outside foot to my outside edge on that foot. So you can play with that a little bit. Then a variation for climbers, because climbing of course has a lot of hip flexion, and having a lot of range of hip flexion gives you access to more footholds. So that just means you have more movements in your repertoire that are available to you that someone that has less control of their hips simply doesn't have. But in climbing, you've got to operate that flexion under muscle control. You don't have your body pushing you down. So now I'm going to start thinking about drawing my knee up, rolling it out to the side, getting comfortable in these positions, and then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to rotate it so that my ankle and knee are at the same level. I'm going to work on extending it and bringing it back. Shake that off. I'm going to do it on the other side. So knee comes up. I'm going to roll it out to the side. I'm going to bring my ankle up to meet my knee and extend it and bring that back in. So I can cycle through those a few times. Okay, that's step 1. So now in step 2, we're going to go from that deep flex position into a crawling stance. So notice if even just rolling into that stance doesn't feel very smooth, I really encourage you to work on the quality of the movement, not just how much of the movement you can do. So now in my crawling stance, this involves this reciprocal pattern of movement where my left knee and right hand are moving at the same time, and then the same thing happens on the other side. And if we start thinking about the way that we walk, the way that we skin, the way that we sprint, we always have that reciprocal pattern going. It's just built into the fact that we're limbed creatures. And so when this limb creates force, then I'm going to have a counter reaction from the lower body. And we want to start to build that pattern in because it really enhances our athleticism when our body knows, hey, when this part is here, then this part needs to be here. That patterning is something that I can really develop in my training. So as I go into that crawling, you'll notice at first if you're having trouble getting that pattern down, just think about that. I'm going to go left knee, right hand, and then opposite. And I'll just spin around, show it you from this side. So that's just the basics of the crawl, but there's nothing to say that a crawl has to be linear. We can also cover ground laterally. And feeling comfortable doing that would be really helpful. And then we can mix them. Okay, so now in this last step, I'm gonna start to change my levels even more and go from that crawling position down into some push-up positions where I'm lowering myself all the way to the ground. So as I step, I'm lowering all the way and coming back up. So see that the other way. Here again, I got that reciprocal movement going, and I'm lowering myself straight from there. Another variation on that is instead of having that crawl, I'm just gonna move in more of a freestyle way and just push and lower myself on every step. So I'm gonna come out here and lower, and reset my hands and feet, and lower. We call this the push-up complex. Cool, so I hope that was helpful. Took a little bit of a journey from these standing positions and then how we can build some of that quadrupedal movement into our training. So if you want to see more of this, the easiest way is through the Athlete IQ video series. And we release them 3 to 4 times a year. It's a video package of 5 different videos. They're short workouts, 10 to 20 minutes, and they build a lot of these patterns in. They're really fun movement, they're very athletic, and they get you moving in a way that all you gotta do is just press play and follow along. And then if you start really liking that and you want to become a member, then you can join Basecamp. And that's our online portal for all of our online video content, which is growing every week and has tons of great stuff from Athlete IQ type of work to more strength-oriented work. Okay, thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share it as well. That's how we help this channel grow. Thanks so much. Take it easy. See you out there.